Hello again, everyone. In this technical analysis of the stock market video, I call it precious metals because that's going to be the focus today. Although we are going to check in with the S&P 500 and see what's going on with it. And one of the key indicators I look at, sentiment indicators. Then we're going to look at the dollar and then gold, or GLD, the gold ETF, GDX, the gold miners ETF, and then silver ETF, SLV. All right, here's the S&P 500. You can see we're up 8.65 today. When you look at the rest of the market over here, you know, the Dow was down, the S&P was up, the Russell 2000, whereas it was down, and the NASDAQ composite was up 56.52. So a little bit of a mixed market today, a little bit of sideways movement here in the S&P 500. You know, the Elliott Wave count that I've got, I continue to look for this to keep pushing higher. I think that we're working our way up in a fifth wave here of this third wave. You can see this little I3 red with a circle around it. It's a minute, what we call a minute wave. Okay, so I think we've got a little bit further to go to push up in here. I've got this fourth wave as a possible running flat. And usually when you have a running flat like that, that indicates that there's overall strength in this market. And that seems to be the way this thing is acting. And it just keeps acting like short term anyway. It wants to keep pushing higher. Okay, let's take a look at one of my, the indicators we look at. And I know I've talked about this before, and that is the equity put to call ratio. There are 35 puts for every 100 calls today. Brings that 10-day down to 0.43. Now, when I color it purple like this is extreme. That's when I get a reading in the 30s. Back here in December, over here the 10-year, never had readings like this on the 10-day moving average. Did I say 10-year? I meant 10-day. On the 10-day moving average, never had readings in the 30s like this. And all of these readings that I'm seeing right in here right now in the 30s, all of this has been occurring since June. And we really have had, I mean, over the last 14 years, we've never seen anything like what we're seeing this year, I guess is the point I'm trying to make. And I'll mention yesterday's reading of 0.34. In 14 years of data that I've got, I've only got one day that had a lower reading, a more bullish reading than what we saw yesterday. It was at 0.32, and that was about 3 weeks or so before the flash crash in 2010. Okay, so that's the picture on the sentiment. That's the S&P. Let's take a look at the dollar index. Okay, this is a long-term chart. This is a monthly chart of the dollar index. And you can see the high that I've got back here in 1985 when interest rates were in the mid-teens, and the big corrective action that happened, and the dollar bottomed in 2008, the spring of 2008. Now, since that point, I think we had a first impulse move up here, 5 waves that peaked, when was it? Into right about the end of 2016 or so. Let me zoom in. And then I think we've been doing a corrective pattern since then. The real question is the corrective pattern finished yet? So this is a monthly. Let's zoom in at the weekly. Here's what we're talking about. Here's this zigzag, and here's where that peaked in January of 2017, the week of January 1st. Okay, so now the real question is over here, are we done? We may be close, but we may continue to sell off more because we really haven't retraced. When we're talking about this entire move in here of this cycle wave 1, we haven't retraced 50% even. And typically, you know, a wave 2 can be 50 to 61.8% or deeper. Okay, so we could continue to push lower. Let's take a look at the daily chart, and I'll show you what I'm talking about in here. So this is where we're at. And coming down in this C wave, this is the way we've got it labeled so far. I think 1, 2, 3, 4 intermediate waves. And the real question is, did 4 end here, or did it end over here in more of a sideways push? And, you know, we're getting some divergence in here. It looks like it may be ending. But we just, you know, we have to let the waves, let the price action continue to tell us that indeed this is the bottom and it's going to push higher. So I've got it tentatively at this point. You know, if the dollar pushes higher, that will most likely go in the opposite direction for gold, oil, silver, etc. It's never a one-to-one. It doesn't move day to day, week to week. Sometimes when you look at even on a month to month, it can be close. But so it'll be interesting to see because I'm getting mixed signals. I'm getting bullish signals on oil. Silver looks bullish. Gold, you can go both ways, but if you're in sync with silver, you can see how it could be bullish. And that would imply that we have more to go maybe on the downside with the dollar. So we'll see what happens. Right now, that's the picture on the dollar. Let's take a look at gold. Okay, this is the bullish count on gold, and this is going off this low back here in December of 2015, and it shows that we are in a third primary wave to the upside, and we're trying to finish off a 5-wave structure. Don't think we're there yet if this can continue to push to the upside. The problem I've got short term with gold, and well, actually, I have a same kind of problem moving the wave count to the downside in the bearish count, or the bearish mode. But right now, if you look at it from a bullish mode, this is not a 5-wave move. Okay, I cannot make even a leading diagonal work in here, and then we got this sharp pullback. So if we are still in a bullish mode, the only thing I can think of, at least as of today, is that maybe we're doing an even more complex corrective pattern than what I'm showing. That maybe we still have this for an X wave and come back down over here for a Z wave, a more complex correction for a 4th wave, and we finish off there. That's one possibility. It would allow for short term for, maybe the dollar pushes a little bit higher or so. We come down here and bottom. It's really, really hard to tell, in terms of the sequence, trying to look at the dollar versus gold. But right now, this is a little bit of a question mark. I mean, there's no doubt about it. There's a couple of different ways you could count it. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at GDX. Okay, this is the bullish scenario for GDX, and let me zoom back out a little bit. You can see what I'm talking about. Here's going off that low, back over here in January 2016, right about when, gold was bottoming. I think it was December 2015 when gold bottomed. And so I think, big one, big sideways complex wave 2 in here. And now we could be off and running in a wave 3 if indeed gold is pushing higher. As a possibility. Here's the one thing I'm looking at. I can see how we can make a nice 5-wave sequence up for wave 1 and a nice pullback for wave 2. But right now, this wave 2 is very shallow. It's very shallow. It hasn't even retraced 38%, much less 50%, which is usually my bogey or target on this on a second wave. And a lot of times it's the zone down here. So you can see it's a pretty shallow for a wave 2. But we'll see if gold starts to continue to push to the upside, or does gold correct more and bring GDX down with it. So that's the picture I've got on GDX, just kind of a high-level snapshot. Let's take a look at SLV. Let me go over here. Now, when I look at SLV, this is a weekly chart, and this is all the data I've got on SLV. It goes back to 2006. And you can see this big blow-off move, but silver has been trading forever, so there's a lot more data. And if we were tracking silver, the actual commodity, we'd have prices all the way down quite a bit lower in here. And I can't remember exactly when silver bottomed. I think gold bottomed in like 2002. But we had this big, what looks like a 5th blow-off wave. I'm saying that this was an impulsive wave up here at the high in 2011. And so now when you look and say, okay, we had a big corrective pullback, big move to the downside. This looks like this corrective move is over in here. This looks and acts like it's bullish in terms of the move to the upside in SLV. Here's wave 1, here's wave 2. Now we're off in wave 3. Let's go ahead and look at the daily view. So as opposed to what's happening in GLD and in GDX, we got a nice little 5-wave move right in here for the first wave. Now we got this wave 2 pullback. So to confirm this move, to confirm that we are truly in a third impulsive wave, we need this thing to keep push it and get up here and take out this high. So that's what I'm going to be looking for. I'm going to lean into the bullish camp on SLV, and we'll see what these others in terms of gold and GDX want to do. But that's the current picture as of today. Hope you found it helpful. We will talk to you on the next video.